The estate was cloaked in silence, the kind that pressed against Jungkook's ears as he sat on the guest room's balcony, staring out at the dark expanse of the gardens below. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth, but it did little to ease the restlessness churning inside him. Taehyung's fierce defense in the kitchen earlier that evening, "You're not the problem, you're the solution," echoed in his mind, each word a tether pulling him deeper into the billionaire's world. He wasn't sure if it was comfort or a cage. His phone lay silent on the small glass table beside him, no new messages from Jungkook or his mother. Taehyung's promise to protect them should have been reassuring, but the idea of being monitored, of his life under scrutiny, made Jungkook's skin crawl. He was here for them, to pay for his mother's treatments, to give Jungkook a future, but every day in Taehyung's estate made him feel further from home. A soft creak behind him broke the silence, and Jungkook turned to see Taehyung stepping onto the balcony, his silhouette framed by the warm glow of the room. He wore a loose black shirt and sweatpants, a rare departure from his tailor suits, but his presence was no less commanding. In the moonlight, his sharp features softened slightly, though his eyes still held their piercing intensity. "You're up late," Taehyung said, his voice low, almost gentle, as he leaned against the balcony railing beside Jungkook. "Couldn't sleep." Jungkook shook his head, his fingers tracing the edge of the table. "Too much on my mind," he admitted, his voice quiet. "Your chef, Namjoon." He wasn't wrong. "I'm causing trouble, even if you don't want to admit it." Taehyung's jaw tightened, his gaze fixed on the gardens below. "Namjoon's out of line," he said, his tone sharp but controlled. "He won't speak to you like that again." "I made sure of it." Jungkook's heart skipped, the memory of Taehyung's fierce protectiveness in the kitchen flooding back. "Why do you do that?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Stand up for me, act like I matter." "I'm just the guy who got caught in your mess." Taehyung turned, his eyes locking onto Jungkook's with a force that made the air feel thinner. "You still don't get it, do you?" he said, his voice low, raw. "You're not just anything, Jin. You're—" He paused, as if the words were a weight he wasn't ready to carry. "You're the one I didn't see coming." Jungkook's breath caught, the vulnerability in Taehyung's voice stripping away the billionaire's usual armor. The moonlight cast shadows across Taehyung's face, highlighting the faint lines of exhaustion, the weight of a man carrying an empire and its secrets. "What does that mean?" Jungkook asked, his heart pounding. "You keep saying things like that, but you don't explain." Taehyung let out a low, bitter laugh, running a hand through his dark hair. "Because I don't know how," he said, his voice quieter now, almost fragile. "I built this life to keep people out. Trust, it's a weakness I can't afford. But you," his gaze softened, searching Jungkook's face. "You make me want to try." The confession hung between them, heavy and electric, the night air charged with its weight. Jungkook's pulse raced, his mind reeling. He wanted to reach out, to bridge the gap between them, but fear held him back. "I'm not trying to mess with your head," he said softly. "I'm just trying to survive this. For my family." Taehyung's expression shifted, a flicker of something like pain crossing his eyes. "I know," he said, his voice barely audible. "That's what makes you different. You're not here for power or greed. You're here for them." He paused, then added, "And maybe that's why I can't let you go." Jungkook's breath hitched, the words sinking into him like a current. Taehyung was so close now, the space between them mere inches, and Jungkook could feel the warmth radiating from him, the faint cedar scent of his cologne. For a moment, he thought Taehyung might close the distance, might let the walls fall completely, but the billionaire stepped back, his expression closing off. "Don't wander the estate at night," Taehyung said, his tone reverting to command, though softer than usual. "It's not safe until we handle the leak." "I'll have Mesley bring you breakfast tomorrow." Jungkook nodded, his throat tight, unable to shake the feeling that something had shifted between them. "Taehyung," he said, his voice trembling slightly as the billionaire turned to leave. "Thank you for protecting me." Taehyung paused, his back to Jungkook, his shoulders tense. "Don't thank me yet," he said, his voice low. "We're not out of this storm." Then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him, leaving Jungkook alone with the night and the weight of his words. Jungkook sank back into the chair, his heart still racing, Taehyung's confession echoing in his mind. "You make me want to try." It was a crack in the billionaire's armor, a glimpse of the man beneath the empire, and it left Jungkook torn between fear and longing. He was in deeper than ever, bound to Taehyung by more than a contract, and the realization was as thrilling as it was terrifying. The estate's security wing buzzed with a quiet intensity, the hum of monitors and the low murmur of voices creating a stark contrast to the opulent silence of the rest of the house. Jungkook hadn't meant to end up here, but after another sleepless night haunted by Taehyung's midnight confession, "You make me want to try," he'd wandered the halls, restless and searching for answers. He'd overheard Miss Lee mention a development in the leak investigation, and curiosity, mixed with the need to understand Taehyung's world, had drawn him to the security room's partially open door. He stood just outside, hidden in the shadow of a corridor, his heart pounding as he caught snippets of the conversation inside. Taehyung's voice, low and lethal, cut through the air like a blade. "You're telling me she's gone? Disappeared?" he demanded, his tone icy enough to make Jungkook's skin prickle. "Park Jimin, the head of security, responded, his voice calm but strained. "The agency employee, Hana Kim, she vanished after we traced the leak to her. We found her apartment empty, but we intercepted a message she sent to Yoongi's network. It confirms they know about Ji and Jungkook." Jungkook's breath caught, his fingers digging into the wall. His name, spoken like a target, sent a chill down his spine. He leaned closer, straining to hear, guilt and fear twisting in his gut. He hadn't asked for this, but his presence was unraveling Taehyung's carefully controlled empire. "Then find her," Taehyung said, his voice a dangerous growl. "And whoever's paying her. I want them buried, financially, legally, whatever it takes. No one threatens what's mine." The possessiveness in Taehyung's tone sent a shiver through Jungkook, a mix of fear and something warmer, something he didn't want to name. But the ruthlessness of his words, "buried," was a stark reminder of the man Taehyung could be, the one who ruled with an iron grip. Jimin hesitated, then said, "Sir, if Yoongi's people are this bold, they might go after Jian directly. He's exposed. Maybe we should reconsider his role." "No," Taehyung snapped, his voice sharp enough to silence the room. "He stays. He's not the problem, he's the key. And I'll handle anyone who comes near him." Jungkook's heart raced, Taehyung's fierce protectiveness clashing with the cold calculation in his voice. He wanted to step inside, to demand answers, but fear held him back. What did it mean to be the key? And what was Taehyung willing to do to protect him? Before he could decide, the door swung open, and Taehyung stepped out, his eyes locking onto Jungkook's with a force that pinned him in place. The billionaire's expression was a storm: anger, betrayal, and something softer, almost pained. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, his voice low, dangerous. Jungkook's mouth went dry, his hands raised instinctively. I didn't mean to eavesdrop," he said, his voice trembling. "I heard about the leak, and I needed to know." Taehyung's jaw clenched, and he grabbed Jungkook's arm, pulling him into the now empty security room and shutting the door with a quiet click. The monitors glowed behind him, casting his face in sharp relief, highlighting the tension in his features. "You don't get to decide what you need to know," he said, his voice low, controlled, but laced with frustration. "This is my fight, Jin. Not yours." Jungkook yanked his arm free, his defiance flaring despite the fear curling in his chest. "It's my fight too," he said, his voice steadying. "They know my name, Taehyung. They're coming for me. I deserve to know what I'm up against." Taehyung's eyes narrowed, but he didn't step back, the space between them crackling with tension. "You want to know?" he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "Fine. Yoongi's people want to destabilize me. The surrogacy, my heir, is their leverage. You're their way in. And I won't let them touch you." Jungkook's breath hitched, the intensity of Taehyung's gaze overwhelming. "Why?" he asked, his voice soft, searching. "Why go this far for me? I'm just..." "Don't." Taehyung cut him off, his voice sharp, his hand reaching out to grip Jungkook's shoulder, the touch firm but not harsh. "Don't say you're just anything. You're..." He paused, his eyes flickering with something raw, vulnerable. "You're the one thing I didn't plan for. The one thing I can't lose." The confession stole Jungkook's breath, the air between them heavy with unspoken truth. Taehyung's hand lingered, his fingers tightening briefly before falling away, and for a moment, Jungkook thought he might close the distance, might let the walls fall. But Taehyung stepped back, his expression hardening. "Go back to your room," he said, his tone reverting to command, though it lacked its usual edge. "And stay out of this, Jungkook. For your own sake." Jungkook wanted to argue, to push for more, but the weight of Taehyung's words, "the one thing I can't lose," held him silent. He nodded, his throat tight, and left the security room, his mind reeling. Taehyung's protectiveness, his ruthlessness, his vulnerability, it was all too much, pulling Jungkook deeper into a storm he wasn't sure he could navigate. But as he walked back to his room, one thing was clear: he wasn't just a contract anymore, and that the truth was as dangerous as the enemies circling them.